A lot of your guests probably they like to play golf, and maybe they miss to play golf during the stay in your yacht. So look for golf courses on the destinations. Okay, soccer maybe during they stay in the yacht they want to watch a soccer match in Barcelona. So find out how to get the tickets for that. Tennis exactly the same. Imagine that you are in Melbourne. Okay, so in Melbourne you got the Australian Open. So get information in terms of tickets, schedule, how to get there, if there is any special village for VIP, etc., etc. All this information it will be vital to got it in terms to provide information to your guests in terms they ask for. Um, Another important point: transfers and transportations. Okay, guys, you will find yourself arranging this type of transportation for your guests, especially from the airport to the hotel to the harbor to the hotel back, and airport. Or maybe they want to do a private tourist tour or guide tourist tour around the city. You can also get this service from this type of companies. So get all the information. Usually there will be 2 or 3 different top companies in the destination for this type of service. So get information of them, rates, type of cars. This is quite important. There is a lot of people that, well, I only want to travel in a Mercedes, or I love to travel in an electric car, or I need a limousine, depending. So get all the profile, all the portfolio of these companies, especially for Middle Easterns. They usually need a super big cars with 7 seats, for example. So you got the information from these companies in terms to arrange any kind of service. And finally, shopping. Shopping is not only a local, it's not only high-end boutiques, could be also any type of service like a massage, for example, okay? Or imagine that your guests need to go to the hairdresser, okay? Or just to fix the nails. All this information is something that you have to look in advance, look for the reputation of the places, okay? And be ready to provide this information to your guest. Questions so far, ladies? No, is that clear? So, database with all the information about the destination, a huge profile. Then, hello? Okay. So, ladies, as soon as you got the profile, you have to keep this profile updated. Why? Now, because we are in COVID. COVID is something unusual. Okay. Now there is a lot of businesses closing. So for example, guys. Okay. So, ladies, here, for example, in Barcelona, we got a lot of restaurants, and because COVID, a lot of them just close their doors. So imagine that you have to prepare the profile 1.5 years ago. You have to keep it updated, especially for this situation. So you have to go through the profile and check on internet if these businesses are still open or not. Or imagine in a normal situation, okay, normal life, COVID doesn't exist. You know, there are new restaurants, new business opening every single month. So you have to be ready just to update this information and to provide this information to your guests. Okay, so profile is not something that once it's done, you're going to keep it on the system or in a shelf. It's something that before to visit the destination again, you have to update it. Okay, ideas, syncing in a local website newsletters. okay? Review local newspapers, especially cultural and gastronomy sections, okay? Second, follow Instagram. Like, guys, you love Instagram. For sure, any one of you got an account on Instagram, okay? Or in YouTube, or in Twitter. Facebook is not that good anymore. But Instagram, you have to follow local influencers. Look what they're doing in the destination, okay? Because maybe Miss Chanel is following this Instagram and she's going to ask you to go to this place and she's going to show you the picture. If you got this Instagram in your account already, you already know which picture is that one. And you can anticipate that, okay? Then, quite important, keep good relationship with tourist authorities or suppliers as well. The idea here is you have to have a good relationship with the maitre, with the supervisor, with the director of the most fancy restaurant in the destination, because you can call him and say, hey, Paolo, please arrange a table for my VIP group. If you don't got the telephone of Paolo, it's going to be impossible to get the table. Do you understand that? So you have to try to get this type of relationship with them. They have to know that your guests are quite wealthy, quite important, and they have to treat them super good. And getting this contact list, okay, with all the key people in the business is going to be the opportunity to find a table when it looks impossible. Okay, is that clear? Yeah, exactly the same, ladies, with the rest of the activities or landmarks that you might have on your profile. Okay. And finally, review TripAdvisor, Michelin guides, Sagar guides, all the things related to gastronomy and F&B is something that you have to review and every now and again in terms to look for new trends or new places to recommend to your guests. Clear, guys? So first, come up with a profile, every destination, and secondly, keep this information updated. And finally, and this is my personal recommendation to you guys, you can follow that or not, but if you do that, you will make changes to learn about your previous experiences, is to write down a journal. What is that for? So the idea is writing down, ask for feedback. Okay, imagine that you send some of your guests to a fancy restaurant. When they came back, you have to ask them during the breakfast time. So how was your experience in that restaurant? Did you like it? You don't like it? Anything that you want to mention? And write down your answers. And then call the business, call the restaurants, and ask them, how was the dinner with my guest? How was the Mrs. Chanel dinner? And write down also the answers. Okay, this information is vital because the next time you want to send someone to the restaurant, you get the big feedback from the guest point of view and the restaurant point of view. So you can figure it out if you have to recommend the restaurant again or have to look for another option. Okay. Also, write down this experience with your guests, the good ones and the regular ones, because this is a good source of improvement as well, especially in terms of recommendation, in terms of how you deal or how was the conversation in recommend or arranging or looking for information from that guest. Okay. And finally, and this is more personal, write down any type of opportunity you might encounter and how you deal with it. Okay, so imagine The guest asks for a service that you don't got in your profile. How did you act to that? How do you look for information? Where do you find this information? How do you resolve this issue with your guests? Okay, so all this information will be vital in terms to improvement, in terms to become a better professional. Okay, so questions, ladies? Anything? No? Let me to look for some water. Give me 1 second. Okay, now, and if we got some spare time, ladies, the next model will be about recovery model, is how to deal with any kind of opportunity with your guest. So if we got some spare time, you will do a role play, okay? So the idea here, just to sum up the previous content, you have to get to know your guest, get all the information, get extra information during their stay, preferences, and then prepare a profile of the destination, keep this information, this profile updated, and keep a journal with recommendations, interaction with your guests, etc. Clear? Perfect. So we got half an hour, 45 minutes more or less. Recovery model. Guys, I already mentioned that. Even though you're a professional team, even though you are doing your job properly, you are completely focused, you are trained to deal with any kind of situations, you will have to address any kind of complaints in the future, for sure. So be prepared for that. So here, complaints could be from different sources. Could be related to F&B, which is something that I want to explain today, but could be something related to housekeeping. Maybe you haven't treated this t-shirt properly, and you have to improve the way that you just iron the shirt, etc., etc. There is always room for improvement, and there is always an opportunity to make the guest experience even better. So I'm going to in this model I prepared seven different types of complainers. Okay, there is no a pure complainer. What does it mean? Maybe you can find complainers that got different percentages of every single complaint that I want to explain. Okay. Or depending on the situation, you're going to be one type of complainer, and depending on the situation, you're going to be another type of complainer. Okay, so seven different type of complainers. That is nice to you know them, because knowing this type of profile, you know, the psychological profile, you can adapt your resolution, your recovery to them. Okay. So the first one, people will ruin dreams. Okay, what happened? This is probably the most typical complaint that you might encounter if you're working in charters. Okay, the typical person that has been dreaming about being in a yacht in the middle of the Caribbean Sea during the whole year. Okay. He or she has created the perfect vision of being in the sea, you know, drinking coconuts, asking for lobster, all this stuff, okay? And they got a fixed idea about that. And you have to know that fantasy, because this is fantasy, sometimes or almost never meet with reality. And when these things happen, even small things become bigger. Okay, so this type of complainer is going to complain for minor things that there were not in their dreams. Okay, So, for example, the lobster is not cooked enough, or the coconut is not cold enough, or there are some clouds and I cannot see the sun. Okay, so the idea is they're going to complain no matter how good you are. Okay, so the idea here is, and we will see later how to deal with this kind of complaints, is try to provide extra service to fulfill their expectations. Okay, number one, clear. Let's have a look for number two. Okay, this is the, unfortunately, there is a lot of guests like that. They like to use their voice quite loudly to complain. Okay, usually, ladies, people who shout, people who use their voice in this level of loneliness are people with low self-esteem, and they need to be irritated to camouflage their shortcomings. Okay, guys. Um, is the typical one that goes to a restaurant without not booking whatsoever, and he complains because, well, someone missed my booking. I made the booking 2 weeks ago and has to be there. It's your fault if you haven't if you have lost it. Okay, this is the typical person. Okay, so the trick here is to keep your voice, in a steady. Don't raise your voice. Don't to put in his or her level. Just try to be calm. Use a soft tone of your voice in terms to dealing with this situation. Okay. So this is number two. Face savers. Number three. Well. This is not that typical in groups where coming from the part of the owner, but maybe you can find this if you're working in a charter. Okay, the difference is the charter has to pay the guests coming from your owner. They don't pay anything. Okay, but if you find yourself working in a charter, maybe one day you have to think that there are these type of complaints as well. There is nothing wrong with the service, guys. Everything is perfect. But they're going to look for something to save money. They're going to complain because they want to get a refund. They're going to complain because they want to get something for free. Maybe they want to get something that it wasn't included in the package of the charter, and they wanted to get it even though they want to pay them. Okay, so these three type of complainer is quite popular, if I may say. I found this type of complainers in all the jobs, in all the hotels, in all my working experience. They're going to complain because they don't want to pay. Point. Okay. No, because something is wrong. Number three. Number four. Okay. This is extra psychological. This is the typical complainer that is going to complain because they want to be the master of the situation. So imagine you are attending to Mrs. Chanel. Everything is fine with Mrs. Chanel, but this type of complainer is going to complain because you haven't poured properly the wine, or maybe you forgot to bring napkins when you serve a drink, or maybe he or she is going to complain because the wine is not cold enough, even though he's drinking beer. Okay, so he has to be the master of the situation, he has to be the main character. Okay, and he's going to complain because he or she thinks this is the right thing to do, complain. Okay, clear? This is the four complainers, or the most, difficult to deal with. Okay, Number 5. What happened with number 5? This complainer, he or she is not going to complain at all, at least in front of you. At least this complainer is going to ask for Melissa to complain about your work. At least he's not going to ask for the supervisor or the manager to complain. Okay, this typical complainer, and again, this is more likely to happen in a charter. He is going to wait until he or she arrives back home. He's going to open the computer, look for TripAdvisor, and write down a review that long complaining about you, complaining of the worst experience ever, complaining about everything that was terrible in the job. Okay, so you don't got any kind of chance to flip the situation in a good situation. The only thing that you have to do is go to TripAdvisor or any other sources that you might have and answer. For these people, for this type of complainer, life is a drama. If there is no drama in their life, is something that is missing. Okay, so be careful about that, about them. My recommendation, ladies, is always looking at them, looking your guest. Try to identify if this guest is a martive, passive, aggressive one, and try to create a conversation. Try to pull out the information before they just write down a bad review. Okay, or about they can write down an email to your boss or to your or the owner of the job, or maybe the company that has hired you in terms to provide the service in these charter companies. So before that, guys, which is something that is goes against your reputation. The idea is try to find out if you got some of these guests in your group, in your in the group that you are dealing with, and try to make them happy as soon as possible. And finally, well, this is not a complainer. Oh yes, this is another type of complaining, which is the loyal customers. These people, they're going to provide a constructive criticism. They love you. They love the service that you do. They love the task that you're doing every single day. They know that your job is quite tough, is quite hard. Okay? And if this is something bad, if this is something that is not working, that he or she thinks that should be, he's going to talk with you. Normal, okay? I wanted to talk with you because I love the service that you usually do, but I noticed that, you know, that you are doing this not properly, okay? Usually this type of loyal customers are going to become good friend of you most of the time. They will call you by your name. They're going to call you by your name. They're going to say, probably this type of customers, they don't want to say the lady with the glasses. They wanted to use your name, sorry, okay? They wanted to say, I don't know your name, but they wanted to use your name, no? Then they wanted to mention you in these terms, okay? So the idea is, as I say, it's not a proper complainer. They're going to give you some ways to improve the things that you are doing, okay? And finally, we got the last one, the truly injured complainer. This person, he or she, is going to ask for you, in this case, ask for Melissa or the supervisor or yourself, guys, the future, probably you're going to do the supervisor as well, of chief steward, and he's going to complain with a valid and important reason. And he's going to do it calmly, rationally, and politely. They're going to ask for his or her rights. He understands that no one is perfect. Sometimes bad things happen, but he is going to ask for appropriate compensation. I paying a fortune or paying a lot of money to be in this job with this charter company. The service is not the thing that the contract says, and I want to get a compensation. And he's going to do it in these terms, completely calm, polite, treating you like a lady or as a gentleman, and asking for a reasonable compensation. Okay, what happened with this type of complainers, ladies? What happened? What happened with them is they are quite good. It's more likely to find four of the first complainers rather than one like this one. Okay. So to sum up, ladies, remember you got these 7 types. As I mentioned, depending on the situation, you can come up with one or others. People with ruined dreams, perfect vision, face servers, they're going to complain in a rated way, using the voice quite low, loudly. Customers looking for something for free. People who's going to be a sort of they're going to complain in the name of the others. Passive aggressive, someone who is not going to say anything at all, but he is going to review or send an email complaining about your service. Loyal customers, positive criticizing feedback, and finally, the really good ones, the ones who are going to complain because they deserve a compensation. Questions so far, ladies? Have you ever met any type of these customers in your previous life, working life? Yes. What is the most popular one? What do you reckon? Anyone?
It depends on the situation, I think.
Say again, sorry?
Passive aggressive.
Passive aggressive. Yeah. Yeah, this is the most dangerous one because you don't got the opportunity to flip the situation. They don't give you opportunity to improvement. This is a shame. Yeah. Yeah, there is a lot of them as well. Okay, so guys, clear different type of complaints, the complainers that you might find during your life working in this yacht industry. Now, let's have a look for. We're talking in these sessions about F&B, food and beverage. Here you got some of the main complaints that you might encounter during your life working in a job. One of the most popular one is drinks temperature. It's not cold enough, it's not hot enough. Okay, typical one, especially in summer. Summer drinks are not cold enough, never. Okay, food is cold. This is going to happen if you got a buffet most of the time. Okay, rarely if you are doing the silver service that I told you yesterday. But for buffet, if you miss, you don't follow the standards, maybe you can find serving cold food. Taking the commands not in a good way. That's why yesterday I insist a lot in terms to repeat the name of the winery, repeat the name of the year, repeat the commands. What happened? Sometimes, ladies, you know that English is a worldwide used language, but there are few people that speak English usually got accent, but I do. Maybe they are not so fluent in speaking English. Maybe they are not fluent at all in speaking English. So the idea is sometimes there could be any kind of miscommunication because you understood something, but the guest asked or they thought that using this word asked for anything. Okay, so there is a sort of interferes between the two messages. Okay, so the idea that's why it's important to repeat to avoid any kind of error in taking commands. Delays sometimes, okay. Bad service probably is not happening to you guys because you are professional ones and every day is a nice opportunity to prove that you are the best stewards in the world, but sometimes it's not your day. Sometimes you feel clumsy. Sometimes you got a lot of pressure and you're just boom, okay? And that means that you're going to deliver a bad service, okay? Cooking point, this is especially for meat, sometimes also apply to fish, okay? This contagious treatment probably is not to happen to you guys, but sometimes you never knows. Maybe you just hired some new crew member, and this crew member, they she or he don't know how to deal with situation of stress and express in a wrong way. Okay, these participation recommendations. This is related about maybe the guest asked for a fish and you got any fish on the on the menu of the kitchen and you recommend this fish, but at the end of the day describe the preparation doesn't match with the expectation of the guest. Okay, and finally, allergies, quite important. And this is vital, guys. You have to know every single ingredient of your menu, of the dishes you are serving. Otherwise, you can find yourself intoxicating a guest. And this is quite important because sometimes these ingredients are not, on the dish, are inside a sauce, for example. Okay, so take this into consideration. Okay, this is the most typical complaints that you can find in F&B. Anyone missing? Do you reckon, guys? Anyone that you think that I have to include in this list? No? Okay. And now, just to finish, okay, we got some spare time, so you can prepare a role play and practice. And practice there. So here the idea is I'm going to give you two options in terms of how to manage these situations. Okay, two different models that you can adapt in terms to handle guest complaints. Okay, the first one is hard. Hard means H for here the gets out. Sometimes what happens is we are focused in giving the guest a solution or looking for an excuse, okay, rather than to listen properly what the guest is trying to explain, rather to analyze why the guest is complaining, analyze what was the situation, what happened exactly, who was involved, okay? What is the main reason that this guest is complaining? Okay, so this first point is listen in active mode. Listen carefully. Listen with the five senses. The only thing that you have to do in that moment when you got a complaint is listen to carefully what the guest is saying. This is the only thing that you have to do. The only one. Not thinking about the answer, not thinking about any kind of excuse, anything. Listen to what the guest is telling you. The second point, emphasize. You have to wear his or her shoes. Understand why this is important for them, why he is or she is complaining. He's complaining not because it's well, I'm going to spend my time complaining to ruin the day to this nice steward. No, he's complaining or she's complaining because he thinks that she or he has to complain because something is not going properly. Okay, so try to understand why the reasons why for this guest, this thing is important. Okay. Number 3, say sorry. Don't be afraid to say sorry. Okay. Don't be afraid. So I'm very sorry. I do apologize. The sentence that you want to use. Okay. Always I use the typical sentence. This is a sort of a calm sentence, like a, well, this is something that never happened before. Even though it's not true, okay? You have to say, well, this is the first time that I found this situation, okay? Try to make the complaint an exception, not a rule, okay? Even though you know that you got an issue in the operation that is difficult to sort out, you have to be surprised somehow, okay? Then, 4th point, resolve the guest opportunity. Give a solution, okay? And this solution could be something that is in your, in your circle of influence, or is something that maybe you have to ask the owner, or maybe you have to ask the captain, or the chief steward, or maybe you have to go and pray. Okay, no, this is a joke, but you have to look for a solution, okay? And finally, always, this is quite important, thank the guest for the opportunity that this guest gave you in terms to improvement, okay? Thank you very much for spending these 10 minutes to share your complaint or your opportunity or your thought with me. Thank you very much, because this is going to make my work even better next time. Okay? Give me 1 second, guys. Wait. Okay. Clear, ladies, clear this one? Now, let me to explain you another method, another way to approach guest opportunities, a long one, okay? So this is the short one, and this is the long one. Okay, first point, listen, the same thing. Listen with concern and empathy, okay? Here the idea, guys, body language, quite important, body language. It's not the same. Listen to the guest like this, you see? Okay, okay, tell me. Then, you see the difference? This is pop mode, pop from wrong, okay? You see my head, my 2 hands like this, like a, okay, for my fall, okay? You are listening, you are using your body language also to express concern, to express regret, okay? And you are listening to the guest quite carefully, okay? So body language important, body language quite important, okay? Then, depending the type of the guest, remember that we mentioned this face saver complainer. They like to use their voice quite frequently. So the idea is isolate the guest if it's possible. The last thing that you want is to create a sort of a fire. So one is complaining and the rest of the group is going to complain again, and everyone is going to complain, and you will be there just looking around, seeing a lot of people complaining. The idea is, okay, Miss Chanel, we need to escort you to any place. Maybe you got any place on the boat, on the job, that you can be seated and have a conversation with your guest. Okay? So the idea is no one else can overhear the conversation. Okay? Number 3, you are a professional. Professional team, you have to stay calm. You have to don't argue with the guest. The guest always guess is always right. So stay calm, don't argue, don't try to look for excuses, don't try to impose your point of view. Okay, the idea is stay calm, listen, okay, perfect, I understand what you're saying, okay. Then be aware of the guest self-esteem, show a personal interest, okay, and use the name quite frequently. So you can say, yes, I understand your situation, Mrs. Chanel. Yeah, I can figure it out. I understand. Okay, this is the idea. Then attention, focus on the problem. Don't be focused on, the anything else that the problem that this guest is trying to explain. This is trying to communicate you. Okay, and then take notes. My recommendation always, you can get a small notebook with a pen or pencil. Okay, so if someone is going to explain a kind of issue, problem, opportunity that they might encounter during the stay on the job, you got the notebook and you can take notes. So you mentioned that when that happened, okay, at 9 o'clock, who was involved, what should I do for you? Information, because sometimes you have to share this information with your chief steward, with the captain, with the owner, and you need a record. Also a record for yourself. Okay. Number 7, always give options, give offer choices. Let the guests know what you can do best. Okay. But please, and this is quite important, don't promise the impossible. If, for example, Miss Chanel likes to have cappuccino with soya milk, and you run out of soya milk in the middle of the Pacific Sea, or Pacific or the Mediterranean Sea, you cannot promise her that you're going to get soya milk next morning. Okay, so always give options. Maybe you don't got soya milk, but you got almond. Okay, so this is the idea. Let the guests know what you can do. Number 8, how long it will take. For example, the same example of soy milk. Maybe you're going to arrive to Monaco the following morning. So the idea is, so Miss Chanel, today we don't got soya milk, but tomorrow, as soon as we arrive to Monaco, I will personally buy your soy milk. This is the idea. So set time, set actions, and set time. Be specific. And finally, number 9. Sometimes the problem is not something that is in your, in your circle of influence. Maybe the air conditioner is not working. What happened? Do you know how to fix air conditioner on the boat, ladies? Probably not. Probably you have to ask someone else to fix it. So even though it's something that is not in your field, okay, you have to check. In this case, with the captain or who is taking care of the maintenance on the boat. Then 1 second, guys. I'm running out of battery. Okay, I'm back. So the idea is follow the task is something that you are not doing. And finally, and this is quite important, follow up. Always ask. So, Miss Chanel, is your air conditioner working? Is working properly? Did you get the temperature that you are looking for? Okay. So always close the circle. Even though it's something that is not in your field, you have to close the opportunity. Okay. You have to be sure that the guest now is happy. Okay. And Also, share this information with the rest of the team. The last thing that you want to happen is that you keep this information to you and Miss Chanel got another issue. Okay, so share information with your team. Everyone has to know that Miss Chanel got an issue during her stay on board, on the yacht. Okay, yes. Questions, ladies? Anything that is not clear? So just to sum up, in this model, we saw different type of complainers. Okay, you mentioned that the most common complaint is the passive aggressive. I give you a tip for that is you can figure it out if something is not going properly, if the service that you're providing is not good enough, and try to get information from the guest, okay? Just to ask for feedback frequently. So everything is okay? Are you happy with that? May I do anything else for you? This type of question is going to maybe get information for these passive aggressive complainants. And then we saw different type of complaints, the typical complaints that you can might find in F&B. Okay, temperature, error in commands, etc., etc. And then I gave you two options, a short one and a long one, in how to deal with these situations, in how to deal with a complaint, in how to transform a complaint into an opportunity to improvement, how to change, to flip a bad taste, a bad situation in a good situation, a good experience. Okay. So, ladies, today we saw how to get information, the vital information that you need before in terms of mise en place to prepare for a group, no matter if a charter, no matter if owners group, all the information that you have to get. Then I give you some tips in terms of create a profile of a guest with all the preference that you got in advance and preference that you're going to fit during the stay. Also, I give you some tips in terms to create a profile of the destination with all the service that you might include. And the thing is you have to update this profile every now and again, especially if you want to visit this destination in the following weeks. And finally, as I mentioned, types of complainers, way to deal with complaints. Okay. Questions in Phuket? No? The classes, everything right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. What's your name?
Claire.
Claire. So, where you from? Just for my information, where you from, ladies?
Well, we're a mix. So Melissa's South African, Claire's French, Marina's Spanish, I'm English, and Young's Thai.
Wow, nice pupurri, eh? It's like a salad with a lot of ingredients. Okay, ladies, I hope, Camila, you're from Italy, right? Yes, we got Italy as well. So, ladies, thank you very much for, so the Spanish one, where are you from?
Alicante.
Alicante, beautiful, I've been there, I've been in Benidorm. No good situation for tourism in Benidorm nowadays. Okay, so ladies, it's going to be a pleasure to be with you to share these 3 sessions. I hope you at least enjoy. We have some fun, especially with the, yesterday and today with your glasses performance. Thank you very much. I wanted to keep this in my heart the rest of my life for sure. Okay, and thank you to be so beautiful and diligent students. Thank you very much. And if you got any kind of doubts in the near future, you can contact with Maite, and she's gonna let me know, and I try to help you as much as I can. Okay?
Very good, very good.
Thank you.
And if you visit Barcelona, just stop to say hello.
And
Okay?
pass by the school, and we will have a lot of fun.
Yes. So thank you very much, ladies. Thank you. Thank you, Camila.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Ciao.
Bye bye, Camila.
Bye, Camila.
Ciao Maite, ciao.
Ciao, parliamo domani se vuoi del Food and Safety Level 2.
Domani?
Sì, quando lo vuoi farlo?
No, per me è lo stesso, ditemi voi, spero di
Ma devi
riuscire.
contattare quella edExams e fare un review sul tuo computer che funziona tutto, capisce? Prima di...
Sì, io ho provato.
Una volta dobbiamo pagare il fee un'altra volta.
Certo, ho già installato il programma su un computer che ha Windows 10. Il problema è che non c'è maniera di sapere se poi quando arriva l'esame lo aprirà.
Sì, devi contattare l'edExams, quella
Sì.
web, con il help center. Il ragazzo mi ha detto che si contatti con loro e lui si metterà dal tuo computer e guarderà se è tutto a posto. Ma devi contattare con loro prima di volvere a fare la prenotazione.
Ok, e quindi posso farlo direttamente oggi con l'altro?
Oggi, farlo oggi con quel computer che farai che farai lo stesso esame. Deve essere lo stesso computer, tutto per metterlo a posto.
Allora, con il link che mi hai mandato dell'EDEXAM, io faccio tutta quanta la chat, richiedo l'intervento e loro possono verificare se il programma gira, corretto?
Esatto, se è tutto corretto, a posto, oppure no, e devi fare qualche sistemazione. Okay?
Certo, perfetto. E per quanto riguarda l'esame diciamo di questa Advanced Service?
L'Advanced Service è un po' tutto insieme, l'assignment che avete fatto mandare da noi, dopo avete anche un final exam sulla piattaforma e quando si è finito che ci marca 100% il corso, viene dall'UK, sì, viene da liberato il diploma.
Ok, nel senso però ci sarà una prova in diretta con il video? Oppure...
No, se sulla piattaforma, sul corso online. Okay?
Ah, ok, perché io non l'ho più aperto poi da
multiple choice.
La live session, quindi seguo quello e poi...
Sì, che segui avanti fino a che finisce, sì.
Ah, perfetto, grazie mille, grazie.
Dimmi, fammi sapere della sistemazione per il Food and Safety Level 2, come è andato?
Perfetto, allora lo faccio subito, poi ti mando un messaggio. Grazie infinite, Maite.
Grazie Camilla.
Grazie.
Vai, arrivederci. Ciao, buona giornata.
Maite, casa. Oye, tenemos que, si vamos a seguir este esquema de 2-4-2, tenemos que buscar algo más de contenido, que yo me enrollo un montón, pero si ponemos algo más...
Lo que vamos a hacer también es que lo había pensado yo ahora, que ellas tengan preparado algún assignment para esta última sesión de los 3 últimos módulos y lo comentáis ellas, tú ves lo que han hecho, ¿vale?
Sí.
Y un poco comentáis un feedback, ¿no? Para hacerlo un poco más dinámico. ¿Qué piensas?
Estaban durmiendo, Maite, es que es normal, Normal. Has visto que al final se han puesto las gafas, hemos hecho un poco de broma, ¿no?
Ya.
Bueno, al final ha sido un poco el terreno, pero sí que hay que hacerlo un poquito más dinámico porque es un palizón todo lo que les explico, es un palizón. Hacer alguna actividad corta, ¿sabes? De 5 minutos para romper un poco la monotonía de escucharme. Tenemos que dar una vuelta, ¿vale? Pero bueno, yo creo que han quedado contentas, ya me dirás el feedback que te dan y...
Sí. Ahora preguntaré a la chief stewardess. Solo eran 4, ¿no? No estaba la chief.
No, estaban todas. Estaban todas.
Okay.
Estaban todas, sí. No hay problema. ¿Vale? La sopa.
¿Un nombre? Estamos reorganizando bueno, hemos puesto los títulos, hemos separado los 3 módulos,
Bien.
pero con el orden de Guest Preference, Concierge y el último Recovery Model para que puedas hacer el Guest Preference con el Concierge. Y la idea es diseñar un assignment que vaya con el Guest Preference y el Concierge. ¿Ella te han comentado algo del barco que estaban, de que tenían nada?
No, es que no hablan mucho. No hablan.
Nada.
No, no ha habido forma, pero bueno, ya veremos. Vale, Maite, ¿alguna cosa más, Reina?
No.
Vale, pues vamos hablando la semana que viene. Yo iré trabajando el tema este de cocina, te pasaré algún draft para que lo veas y nos dices.
Haz un slide si quieres del decanter, porque tengo el vídeo, le pondríamos un slide, por qué decantas y cómo, y ya está.
Vale, me lo apunto en un segundo, porque yo, si no me...
Hacemos un par de assignments, te los propongo a ver qué te parecen y en el próximo curso se los vamos para esta sesión.
Es que
sí, es diferente que antes, ya no es lo mismo. Cuando tú estás aquí con ellas dando la teoría es diferente.
Claro, porque les hago hablar, es más dinámico. El tema del online cuesta un poco más. Y es-
Todo que ayer fue muy bien, ¿no?
Sí, yo creo que quedan contentos, ¿eh? Bueno, vamos mejorando. Vale, Maite.
Pues nada,
Hablamos que
buen fin de, y gracias por todo y estamos en contacto.
te va a faltar. Un saludo, cuídate, guapa.
Hasta luego, adeu, chao.